What if I told you that if you could improve just 5 areas of your game, you would start winning a lot more matches? And none of what I'm gonna tell you involves changing your forehand or your backhand. So in this video, I'm gonna break down those 5 areas and I'm gonna show you how they can transform the way you compete by helping you play smarter and by reducing your stress level. I'm positive that once you start working on these areas, you're gonna be much happier about your game. Let's get into it. So the first and most important thing that you need to accomplish anytime you go out on the court to play a match is you have to reduce the amount of mistakes that you're making. And you're gonna hear this from everybody. So why is that? If you pay attention to the statistics, 80% of all points end up in errors. So you're gonna get more points because of the errors that your opponent is gonna make. So I know that it's hard for people like us who are so aggressive and we just wanna finish up the point and create the point, but you have to start being smarter about the way you play, and you have to concentrate on reducing the amount of mistakes that you're making. So I'm gonna share with you my personal rule when I play. And that is, I do not allow myself to go for winners after I hit 3 shots. And what am I doing in those 3 first shots? I'm gonna try to go for height, for depth, for spin, and for consistency. So I'm gonna try and hit to the person. I'm not gonna try and go too wide. I'm gonna try to add some spin. I'm gonna try and keep that ball deep so that the butterflies in my stomach start rearranging and I start feeling better. It doesn't mean that you're gonna be defensive in the beginning of the match. It means that you're starting slow, you're taking your time and you're keeping that ball deep. You're using balls that are called neutral shots, where you're not allowing your opponent to attack you, but again, you're not putting that much pressure on yourself. After you hit those 3 shots, then of course you want to start trying to get more aggressive. And ideally, you want to start using a plan that you put together before you started the match. Now, my second suggestion is to try to keep things even more simple than that. You want to try to use a preset pattern to return. So it doesn't mean that you're always going to return like this, but this is one of the most conservative patterns to return. And why is this important? Because you don't have to think about this. It's like somebody gave you a laundry list of things to do and you just follow it. You just go out and buy whatever it is that you need to buy rather than having to come up with new ideas. So this is the pattern that I use for singles. I'm also gonna show you for doubles. It's even more simple. But for singles, when you're on the deuce side, if the ball bounces near the corner or in the middle of the court, I want you to use a forehand. And I want you to go to the right side of the server. I don't want you to go too far cross court where you're gonna end up missing the ball or getting too close to the single sideline. I want you to go about 1 meter from the server. Again, to try and get your return on the court, because that is the number one thing you want to try to aim for when you're returning. You want to get that point started. Now, if the ball bounces near the tee, I want you to choose a backhand. And with that backhand, I want you to go cross court. Why? Because cross court is going to give you more room and you're following the pattern of your stroke. You don't want to be going inside out because eventually you're going to have less court. So I want you to go cross court, again, about 1 meter from the server. And after you hit, just let the body go through the stroke and then come back to the middle. Again, you want to try to keep things simple and go with the flow on this one. What about the ad side? Well, this side is even easier. All 3 returns are gonna go cross court to the left side of the server. Again, about a meter. Aim for a meter away from the server. And if you miss, then it's gonna go a little bit farther, which is okay. You don't wanna be aiming for any lines yet. So let's go through the returns. The first two, when the ball bounces near the tee or in the middle, the ball comes right at you. What I want you to do is pick a forehand, run around that back, and especially on this middle shot, and basically go inside out, aiming about a meter from the returner. And then when the ball goes to the corner, what I want you to do is also hit a backhand and then go cross court about a meter from the returner. And then come right back to the middle and use the number one suggestion that I gave you. Just try to hit at least 3 shots where you're hitting deep, you're hitting high, and you're hitting with a lot of topspin, and you're being consistent. Now, what about doubles? Doubles is even more simple. You want to try to go cross court, but ideally, you want to try to hit at the server, towards the server. Again, if you miss, that ball is going to go a little bit farther to the right of the server if you're returning on the do side, and the same thing on the ad side. Another thing that I like to suggest to my students is you don't want to be trying to hit too high, because that net player is going to have an easier time poaching, especially if they're picking on a stroke that if you can consider that stroke your weakness. So you want to try to keep that ball about 3 feet from the net. That's what I do. And try to hit right at the server so that you can get that point started right away. Now, this is a super conservative way to return. It doesn't mean that you have to do it all the time, but you want to do it in the beginning and when you're in trouble. Now, the biggest reason why I love to just have a preset pattern of return is because it's taking all the thinking away from those super high stress level situations. And it's going to allow me to start getting in the zone, start feeling my hands, start getting my body more adapted to the match that I'm playing, rather than reinventing my stroke every time that I'm hitting a ball. I have a preset area where I'm gonna hit, and then after that, I can slowly increase my aggressivity. So my third suggestion is, again, keep it super simple. The rule that I have in singles is I am gonna try to force my opponent to hit short so that I can get a winner. And then in doubles, I'm gonna try to force my opponent to hit high so that both my partner and I can finish up the point at the net. So if you think about it, it's super simple. You don't need to be hitting flashy shots all the time. You want to try to come up with a strategy where you're forcing that person in singles. You're forcing that person either by making them run or by hitting really deep to hit short, where it's much easier for you to create a winner. It's a lot harder to come up with a winner from the baseline. So you really want to feel like you're drilling that person until they finally give you something super easy. And in doubles, again, you're going to hear this from everybody. You want to win your doubles points at the net. So what's easier to hit at the net? A high volley. So build your points around that goal, trying to force that opponent to hit that ball high. So how do you accomplish that? By working your point. Maybe you hit a couple of volleys where you're trying to throw your opponent away from you, and they're trying to make sure that they're going over the net, so they're going to go high. And maybe you try to hit at the person's feet so that, again, that net becomes an obstacle and they're going to try and hit that ball higher. For this next thing that I'm going to tell you, I want you to become a pro at this, and that is slowing yourself down. All of us are guilty, especially of when we're losing, of not taking time. In between points, in between serves, at the changeover, anytime that you're losing, your mind is going downhill. your stress level is getting higher, your adrenaline is growing. So the last thing you want to do is throw more fire at the pit when you're burning down. So cut it off, slow it down. And how do you do that? By controlling your breathing. So I want you to start using a breathing routine, like box breathing. I'm sure you've heard of that. So I want you to remember 4, 4, 4, 4. And you're going to repeat that 3 to 5 times. What does that mean? You're going to inhale for 4 through your nose. You're going to hold it for 4 seconds. You're going to let go for 4 seconds. And then you're going to hold it for 4 seconds. And again, you want to repeat that 3 to 5 times, especially after somebody made you run from right to left, forwards and backwards, and especially when you lost the point. Take your time and slow your heart down. During the changeovers, you want to try to use the maximum amount of time allowed. And in between the routines that you do during the changeovers, I want you to start using a breathing routine. And what I'm going to suggest to you is a 4-8 breathing. That means you're going to inhale for 4 and you're going to let go for 8 seconds. And do that 3 to 5 times while you're looking at your racket, while you're thinking about what went wrong in that last game, if you're losing, what you did well in that last game, even if you lost the game, and what should you be doing in that next game that's coming up. In the past, I created a video with Kelly, my fitness trainer, which I'm gonna link over here. Go through it because I know you're gonna pick up a lot of good information about it. And the last suggestion that I'm gonna give you is you have to come up with a game plan before you go play. You don't want to be in your warm-up creating a game plan because that is going to give you a lot of stress. So what do you want to do? Before the match, you want to start asking questions. You want to go watch the person play. You want to figure out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what strategies come easier to you. In the middle of the match is not the time for you to be reinventing yourself. If you don't hit angles, that's not the time to start doing it. If you don't serve and volley, that's not the time to start doing it. So before you come to the match, come prepared. Do a research so that, again, it's like you have a laundry list of things already made, like you packed before you're leaving, rather than having to add one more thing to your brain, to your heart, to figure out in the middle of your match. So I always tell my students, what should you do against somebody? The number one thing is you want to do what you do best. And the second thing is you want to attack their weaknesses. First, you do what you do best. And second, you go for their weaknesses. And make sure that you're not going for their weaknesses at the wrong time and from the wrong place. So I want you to take some time to do some deep thinking and define what kind of a player do you consider yourself to be. Are you a baseliner? Do you like to come into the net? What sort of strategies come easier to you? Do you like to run around your forehand? Do you like to come into the net? Define what kind of player you are, what things you do well, and then enhance those things. Ideally, you should be spending more time on the things that you consider your strengths and less time on the things that you consider your weaknesses. As an exercise, I would love for you to leave me a comment and tell me what kind of player do you consider yourself to be. Just write me a short paragraph and tell me what kind of player do you think you are and what strengths do you think you have and what weaknesses do you think you have. It's gonna be a really good exercise to realize, to put on paper, to see yourself on paper. Now, before I let you go, I want you to consider something. Develop your slice forehand because it is the one stroke, in my opinion, that is going to help you change the rhythm of the match. So I created a video in the past about the slice forehand that has a lot of information on not only how to do it, but when to do it. So I'm gonna link it here. Go through it and leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought about it.